The US has been relying on a very simple system of issuing debt in virtually unlimited quantities. Due to the monopoly they have with the reserve currency of the world, they can simply consume at any imaginable rate as long as there is a buyer for their debt. In the event that there isn't a buyer, they can always use the lender of last resort. Their friends at the Fed will print money out of thin air and buy every last piece of garbage IOU the US needs them to. Problem solved. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we are going to look at China and Japan dumping the dollar. This is what they have been doing for quite some time. I'm going to show you what they've been getting rid of. I'm going to show you who's been purchasing. I'm going to give you all the details and exactly what you need to know. This is a video that I do consistently. I give you the updated numbers every single month for the most part, and I wanted to give you an update on this, so let's begin with this. Holdings of U.S. Treasuries. There are three lines on here. Domestic holders, that's the orange one. Foreign holders, that's the blue. And the Federal Reserve is in red. And you can see that, by the way, this chart going from 2000 to 2018. We're looking at the most recent data here. The Federal Reserve has been selling off over the last couple of years. They've been starting to reduce their positions. You can see that foreign holders have also been doing the same thing here, particularly throughout 2018. And it's domestic holders who have been increasing. In the recent past, we can see that domestic holders have just barely inched up the amount of purchases. I wanted to just give you an idea of exactly how that looks on a wider scale, but we're going to zoom in and look at the particular countries. I'm going to show you one chart that is directly from the Treasury's own website, and then I'm going to show you the charts in their graphical form to give us an idea of where this has gone. Let's begin with this. Remember that this is from the Treasury's own website, and I need to mention this every time because there's always some comments about this, so I need to clarify. I did not create this chart. This is the actual data from the Treasury's own website. If you're interested in looking at it, you can see the major foreign holders of Treasury securities. If you type that into a search engine, you will find the Treasury's own website. Now, also wanted to acknowledge the fact that you will see the most recent numbers on here are from September of 2018. This is not old information. I am not using old information. This is the most recent data as of November 16th. They do not have more recent data. I am showing you the most recent information. I only bring it to you when it is brand new, or else it becomes invalid practically immediately. So that's why I do that. And let's continue on with the actual information that people have tuned in for instead of dealing with the silliness. China has sold off month after month after month. Now, while they have been selling off, it is very clear that this has been the case of one individual country holding over $1 trillion. But since March, they have been net sellers. So you could see what they've been doing here constantly, basically for the most part, getting rid of that debt that they hold from the US. And it's been a very, very slow process. It's going to take a long time at this pace, but surely they're doing this very methodically. They know exactly what they're doing. Tomorrow, who knows? But today, this has been their game plan. Japan has also been doing the same, but it goes even further back. They have been continuously selling off the amount of US debt that they hold. And you can look through the list here and see all these different countries, what they've held, what they're holding now. This gives us month after month of detail. So if you're interested in checking that out, remember that Russia actually sold off enough to not be considered part of the major foreign holders anymore. So it's interesting. That happened a little while ago. I showed you when that occurred. And now we need to look at the chart form. China Treasury Holdings, we're going back at the levels which we have not seen since the middle of 2017. So you could see that they have been declining their position. So if we look at the short term, yes, they've been doing so, but still holding on to over $1 trillion worth. But look at where it was back in 2013. It was over $1.3 trillion. So the longer term trend here is selling off. while they have been up and down, it's been fluctuating, we can clearly see what their intentions are. Then you look at Japan. They are now going back to levels they haven't seen since 2011. So this has been a constant trend here for the most part, peaking out at over $1.2 trillion, almost $1.3 trillion, and they have been doing so for years now. That peaked out in December of 2014. They've been selling off ever since. France, Treasury Holdings, although it spiked early on in 2018 and even throughout 2017, they've been increasing their positions. In fact, since the financial crisis, they really sold off quite a bit here throughout the later part of 2018. So I just wanted to show you that as well. Ireland, which is an interesting one because I'm not sure if this is actually the country of Ireland buying up all of this. This is probably some sort of shell corporations or some other entities. Regardless, with nearly $300 billion, it's a significant sum. They have been selling off now throughout 2018, which seems to be very similar to other countries. Saudi, in fact, has been increasing at a rapid rate. They have $176 billion worth, and that has been thoroughly escalating since the financial crisis. But over the last couple years, they have really stepped up their purchases. Foreign holdings change in U.S. corporate stocks. This has been something to note. You can see that throughout all of 2018, there has been a sell-off in the foreign holdings. There's no doubt about that. That is very clear. There is a trend month after month after month, and they've been doing that. You can see it here in this chart. Okay, very clear. Now we go into personal debt. So we move from the national debt to the personal debt. I want to show you something, and I'm going to give you this for several countries. This is a global show, and I give you all the details I can from all over the world. So if you're new to the channel, definitely stay tuned no matter where you live. The total debt shouldered by Americans has hit another record high, rising to $13.5 trillion in the last quarter, while an unusual jump in student loan delinquencies could provide another signal that the nation's economic expansion is growing old. Flows of student debt into serious delinquency, that's over 90 days, rose to 9% in the third quarter, and that shows us that this is even impacting the student debt. It's not just credit cards, it's not just mortgages, it's not just subprime, it's every single level. They get into more of this data in here, but I need to show you what this looks like in a chart form. Total debt balance, you can see the non-housing debt and the housing debt accumulating every single year since basically the dawn of time. There was a small and slight retraction. There was individuals actually for once offloading some of that debt. It didn't last too long because now they are at a record level. There's mortgage balances here that they talk about. You can see the home equity line of credit in here. If you're interested, all those numbers are there for you. Look at Canada's household debt to disposable income ratio. This is absolute insanity. While it's not at the peak, you can see where it has gone over the last few years. All right, so the peak was 173%, and right now it's sitting at 171%. This is not the king, all right? So I'm going to show you. Can you guess who is the king of debt in this regard? Well, I've covered it before, and I want to congratulate Australia. My friends in Australia, congratulations. You are number one, the most indebted. And what am I talking about exactly? Not the national debt, not the total amount of national debt. We're talking about personal debt. Australians' household debt nears highest worldwide. That's right. They're using data from the OECD, and that's from 2015 numbers. So I definitely want to see some more recent numbers. I'm not sure why they pulled this up because this article is from just a few days ago. However, we're looking at this, seeing it at 212%. This is absolute absurdity, and this is because of what people have done when they've overextended themselves in real estate. That is the prime reason for this, and unfortunately people have gotten way over their heads. The prices have come down in many major cities within Australia, although some individuals don't tend to agree, but I know that I have many people telling me in Australia that yes, in fact, the prices have declined. They're underwater, but even if they weren't, even if the prices continued to increase at the rate they have been, it doesn't excuse individuals for being at this level of debt. It's not going to work out, and it's going to punish them. Now, we got friends in New Zealand as well. I want to say hello to all of you. Not quite as high as Australia, but at 166%, it is impossible to ever pay back. Well, that's okay, because everything's just going to work out, just fine. And don't worry about debt, because it's manageable. It's totally fine. Oh my goodness. Ireland's household debt to income ratio. Now, I wanted to show you this year that it has been declining since the financial crisis. And you can see today it is sitting at 147. The peak was at 212. So that number has come down quite a bit here over the years. But still at 147, I really don't think it's possible to be managed. Looking at Portugal, they're sitting just over 100%, and that is a rate at which, again, not able to take it down. But I'm glad to see a country like this, who really suffered throughout the financial crisis in their own way, has at least reduce some of their positions here in debt. I don't know what they're doing exactly to get rid of it. Of course, the one image is not going to tell the whole story, but it's good to know that some of those individuals out there are being more responsible. Perhaps, anyway. Now, to finish the video off, I thought this was just over the top. I wanted to bring it to you for anyone who has stayed till the end. Parents charged with using identities to rack up debt. New York State Police say a couple racked up nearly $10,000 in unpaid utility bills and credit card debts using the man's son's name, destroying his credit rating. There's more details in here, but I think it's crazy. They used their identities, they racked up the debt. People are desperate today, and that's what it comes down to. They'll use any form of debt, and they think, hey, I don't have the money now, but if I just use this credit card, I can get my way. I can get that new iPhone that costs nearly $2,000 because I really need it, because the old one doesn't have that really cool emoji feature on it that I just really need to have right now. That's the type of mentality a lot of people have. I know that that doesn't really account for some people who are in desperate situations, who are not doing well for other reasons, but I can't believe that people, in the majority of individuals, they can't manage the situation on their own. I have to believe that most of them are certainly able to, but they've put themselves in this place. So that's all for this video. If you found it informative, please give me a thumbs up, and give me a thumbs up. You're supporting this channel, so I do appreciate that very much. And if you want the financial education you were not taught in school, then these two books have it all. I taught you everything you need to know in these books, from the foundation to the asset classes, how to reduce your debt. I get into all the topics. Check them out at the link in the description. If you're more interested in the audiobook version, you can get that at themoneygps.com.